Hey guys, Frank here with another episode of Modern Church Leader. I am joined by Michael, one of the co-founders of Clearstream, co-founder and CEO, right?
We don't have a CEO. I don't know why. I'm COO. We both of
COO, okay.
us,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. You and
Trevor's
Trevor started.
CTO, I'm COO. So yeah.
You guys started a great business, so I'm pumped to do this interview. We've known each other for a while, so thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Tell folks like where you're joining from, and we'll
Okay.
just jump a little bit of like what's Clearstream, just so they have the context of this.
Yeah, sure. So I'm joining from Pensacola, Florida. That's where our company's located. We have an office here downtown, and then we're like a hybrid remote slash in office team. Been doing this for like 14 years, which is crazy to say.
Yes.
That's like a lifetime in software. And what Clearstream is very simply put, we are a texting and emailing software built specifically for churches. We've been doing that for a long time. And so we're not a church management software. We don't try to be, we don't have plans to be. We just focus on building really, really, really good software, helping churches communicate with their people through texting and email. So that's the short.
Love
that's
it.
the short
Love
version.
it. And you and your longtime buddy Trevor started it.
Mm-hmm.
You have quite the history together. So how did you get into?
We're brother-in-laws now, but yeah.
There you go. There.
Yeah.
That's like, and it's still working. You're still, friends and all that.
We're still friends.
Yeah, that's a good
We're
sign.
still friends. So he tricked me into starting a company so he could marry my sister later. So
I'm smart guy.
He did marry my sister, but it wasn't a trick. But yeah.
So how did you guys get into, give us a little bit of your faith story. Like, how did you, get connected with the church and become a Christian? And obviously that down the road led to, building a company that's serving the church. So yeah, we'd love just the backstory.
Well, man, you're asking me something that I would talk about for much longer than talking about Clearstream. So I'll try to keep this real concise, the faith story. Well, both Trevor and I grew up in the church. He was a missionary kid. He was born in Thailand. His parents run a very large mission sending agency. I was a pastor's kid. Kind of grew up in the church, in identity Christian, so to speak.
Yeah.
Never really went, crazy as a teenager or anything, but just kind of was like the typical, Christian pastor's kid. And it wasn't until I'm 39 now. It wasn't until like mid-20s that life started beating me up a little bit, and then faith became a little bit more real. Where it was more than just like identify as a Christian. It's like, no, actually, like this is my everything. This is. Yeah, I don't know. It was later on in life. I had one of those stories. I never had like any kind of, I have a very boring testimony personally. It wasn't like I was lost and then I was found. It was just more like I was just kind of lukewarm, and then life threw some hard stuff, a little bit of suffering, and that I fortunately turned to the gospel instead of other things.
Right.
And it's just been that since. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Not my kids. I have triplet 12-year-old boys. They've grown up in church. I didn't grow up in church, but they're growing up in church. And oftentimes one of my boys will say to me like, Dad, everybody has like the same story, like everything was bad and then it was good because of Jesus. Like he's kind of like he's processing kind of what he hears, and that's I guess gets the press, but there's lots of people that it's not like life was all bad and they were in jail and on drugs and crazy, and then they learned about Jesus and the gospel and had a big change. Like sometimes people they grew up in the church, or like me, I didn't have a crazy story, and God found me in college and I became a Christian, and there you go. And everyone's story is different, and God uses all of us. So It's cool. It doesn't have to be crazy.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So my kids have good radars. They're spotting that in the church at 12, and I'm like, okay,
it's good.
It's gonna be different. Well, I don't know if it'll be different for them. We'll see. They're only 12. So how did you go from, I don't know what you were doing before Clearstream, but give us the Clearstream journey. So you had a heart for the church, but you're also a tech guy somehow, and that led into Clearstream being what it is today. But like, what's the journey there?
Well, I should probably disclose that I'm really not a tech guy. I kind of stumbled into this.
You play one on TV, yeah.
I play one on TV and have dealt with imposter syndrome for many years, and that's gotten better and better as we've just continued running the company. But it was really my co-founder. It was really Trevor, who was the tech guy. We were both running separate businesses just out of college, and we went on this. I'm not going to go way deep, I'm not going to bore your audience, but my wife and I, we were married. This was like 2009. I got married in 2008. We went on like a triple date with like my wife and I, and then a couple other couples. And Trevor was one of those people who went on a date.
Yeah.
With my sister, who he later married. And we just hit it off. Trevor and I, like, we just clicked really well. And we started hanging out. He's running his own web dev business. I'm running like a high-end auto detailing business.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a tech guy. But like I was into like building my own website, and like, I was drawn, even just in my own business, like the back-end operations, whatever. So we decide, I think 6 months later, like, man, we want to build something together. And so we started throwing some ideas around, and we basically didn't have, it's actually kind of a boring story. It gets cooler the later it goes, but the inception of Clearstream is pretty lame. It's like, okay, two guys decide they want to build something. And so we basically just started building websites, doing like Google AdWords, like, marketing stuff for like local businesses. And like our work ethic really got us pretty far. Like we didn't raise any money or go into any debt. We just did whatever we could to make money, and we earned a really good reputation and got passed around a lot. And so we kind of grew our client base. And about a year in, one of the things that we decided we wanted to do was to do streaming for churches. We were way too early into the game. The infrastructure for live streaming was just not there in 2010. We were reselling some, I don't remember who it was. And that hence the name Clearstream, actually. Right. That's where Clearstream comes from. So nothing to do with what we do today. And we also started reselling a texting software from like one of the largest like business texting softwares out there. So we were just like a white label. It was like, we weren't building any of the software. We were just building like the website and the layer on top. And then, people would find us and they would start using, Clearstream, but it's not Clearstream behind the scenes. And we did that for a couple years while doing the other things, building websites for local businesses and stuff like that, for churches. And it was actually like a crash course. Reselling another large software was a crash course for us in what we didn't want to build if we were to ever do it on our own.
Right.
I was, for the first like 6 years of Clearstream, it was just Trevor and I. We were just like a 2-man shop. I'm doing like all the customer support, most of the business stuff. He's, behind the scenes on the engineering side. Very little of it back then. But talking with customers in those first few years that we were reselling another texting software, customers were, frustrated all the time because the software was so hard to use, very buggy, very slow. Like, man, like we could just build something really, really, really simple. Doesn't need all the bells and whistles that all these business texting softwares need or have. Like, you need to be able to go into somewhere and easily send out a message, reliably send it out. It'd be sent out really fast, and the ability to, respond to people. Like, if we could do those few things really good, that'd be cool. And so we figured out how to do it ourselves, designed the products, wireframe, designed the product, built it out, launched it in 2013. And so, that's how ClearStream, as people might know it today, is like a texting software. It was really like the first iteration was in 2013.
Yeah.
Way more simple than it is today. We miss those days. Yeah. The simplicity of just very, very simple software.
Yeah. But so, I mean, I love it because you saw, you were doing something, you saw the need, you saw the problem. You're like, oh, we can do this better. You went off and did it. And clearly it's worked. But there's a little point in there early on, you were doing text for kind of anybody because you were building websites for local businesses and all that. So you were doing text for churches, but all kinds of other businesses too. And at some point you decided, like, we're going to go all in on churches. Like, tell us, a little bit about that moment.
Okay. So we launched the first version in 2013. Around 2015 or 16. At that time, we had maybe had, I'd have to look back. I'm going to say maybe a few hundred customers. We happen to have some really large companies, like really large, like very, very large, Fortune, 1 or 500, a few of those that had, like, we had no business working with companies that large, but somehow we, got past their gates.
Right.
I don't know how. But in those days, like, we were just a texting software for anyone. And so we had churches using ClearStream, and we had other businesses using ClearStream. And at least back then, I wouldn't know now because we haven't been building, business texting software for many years. But back then, like, texting software would just attract unscrupulous businesses. And I'm not going to, just nightclubs and things like that, which is fine. I'm not saying there's something wrong with a nightclub, but it's just, at the end of the day, what it came down to is we had no satisfaction we were building. We did not like supporting businesses using our software. And also, alongside of that, like, frustration that we also had churches that were using ClearStream, and those churches would start using ClearStream and required very little handholding. They loved our software, very little support. And what I didn't realize back then, we were just too naive to know, is that actually it was a really good product market fit. We just didn't know. Like, we didn't know we had built something like, actually, this works for churches. It might work for businesses too, but really works for churches. And that's the world that we come from. That's the world that we're passionate about, I guess I could say. So kind of all of those factors converged around the end of 2015. And I remember exactly where we were. We left the office, Trevor and I. We go get lunch across the street, and we're sitting in a ditch eating lunch. And and so I'm like, man, dude, like, this sounds crazy, but I think we should consider pivoting to just only building our software for churches. And he hardly even paused, which is unlike Trevor. Trevor's a very slow speaker, not like slow, just very
considered, thoughtful.
Yes, considered and thoughtful speaker. But he didn't even hesitate. He's like, I've been actually feeling the same exact thing lately. I was like, okay, well, what are we going to do? And so that kind of started a chain of events that lasted about a year, all throughout 2016, of me going to hundreds of businesses that, that are paying us to use our software. And again, we're not funded. We're just like, we're just bootstrapped.
Yeah.
And going and telling them like, hey, thank you for using us, but, we're no longer serving, anyone aside from churches. So go find someone else. So that was like almost like financial suicide. And we also moved to New York City. We moved the business to New York City, much higher cost of living than Florida. Right. So like all of those like factors in 2016, middle of 2016, I don't know if I'd have the stomach to go through that again. But we did all that and we pivoted to, okay, from now on, all we do is we build software for churches. Really the big difference is thinking about like, okay, what features inside of a communication software does a church need, not just any kind of business? What does a church actually need? What tools do they use? Let's integrate with those tools. Like it changed like our product direction. It made it like very specific. Mm-hmm. We were only solving this very specific problem for this very specific kind of customer, which is a church. So we did that in 2016. And it was a very, very tough decision.
Yeah.
Financially sweating for a while. But it was the best thing we could have done, So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of bet the farm on that one. But
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you followed like your real passion and, the thing that kind of made you want to get up and work on the business. And, just
there's a satisfaction that we found in work that wasn't there before.
Right. Yeah.
Not to say that people who are building software for, just for businesses or whatever, you can't like, God works in all of it. Yep. We're all called to different things, but for us, we didn't have a satisfaction with, what we were doing and building software for churches. Like it's actually deeply satisfying.
Right.
So
no,
I can see a lot of the ministry that happens behind the scenes. So yeah.
No, I mean, I totally get it. Building something in our case at Tithely, right? Building something for churches, helping them do ministry. There's just something, very fulfilling about that work and interesting. Mm-hmm. And I get up every day, like excited about what we're doing. And that doesn't have to be, lots of people can build things that are serving all kinds of different, industries and do it. Like you can find passion in lots of stuff. For us, it's building stuff for churches. For you guys, it's building stuff for churches. And mm-hmm. How did you know, like when you hit product market fit, right? And maybe like product market fit, right? It's like when you have the product, you've built the thing that your ideal customer, in your case is churches, like really needs and is finding value in. Like where did you made the pivot, so you were seeing signs of it, but then like you kind of like you moved to New York and then you're like, okay, is it working? Like, was there any, do you remember any moments or any things where you're like, oh, like it is actually we went down the right path and it's working better and better now?
I think we were like, I might be selling ourselves a little bit short, but I don't think so. We were just naive to a lot of that stuff back then. That's 8 years ago now. I don't even think the idea of product market fit was in my radar, just, and we were a lot younger, we started the business, we were both 24, I think 25. So I don't know. I think we just stumbled into it because we had the software and we like the churches who use our software. Mm-hmm. They're really just enjoyable to work with and they seem to use it really good. So let's just do that. Right. That was like the extent of like the business rationale,
Yep.
And I think we were just fortunate.
Once you did it, Yeah. I mean, I think that was us. Same kind of story in that, like, we weren't, 9 years ago, like I probably didn't know what product market fit really was then versus now, but you found it and you saw signs of stuff working. So do you remember any of those, like after you made the pivot and you got moving and you started targeting churches, focusing on their needs? Do you remember any moments where you're like, oh, this thing's like, this is a sign of life that we headed in the right direction?
Yeah. Our growth started increasing. So churches started, referring us. Mm-hmm. We built a couple integrations early on that were great. Churches seemed to like them. And we've continued building out integrations over the years. And then fast forward a few years into 2020, COVID happens.
Yeah.
And of course, churches are freaking out, like those first weeks and couple months. It's like, how are we going to actually do church? And we were one of those businesses that did benefit from that. A lot of churches started using ClearStream, and then they just kept on using ClearStream. It's like they found it, and like, oh, this is great. And then as the COVID kind of subsided, or the intensity of it subsided, and we went back to kind of like our normal way of church operations, I think a lot of churches just, like, no, we're going to still use ClearStream. It still has benefits. So there's like a number of things but there wasn't any kind of like inflection point where I was like, yes, this is the product market fit. It was just kind of stumbled into it
little by little, doing things and staying focused on it. I mean, like you said, it's been how many years since the church focus?
8 years.
8 straight years of, and how many churches do you guys serve now?
I think we have around 62 or 6,300 churches using ClearStream.
So thousands,
which is small compared to a lot of other softwares, but
thousands of customers in any place. I mean, that's like a lot of churches, especially because, I mean, there's lots of churches, but not necessarily every church is the right customer fit for everything, right? Mm-hmm. So like not every church, your kind of average, 100-member church might not be using texting software, but there's still hundreds of thousands of churches in America. So, what, as you guys have built out the platform and serve churches, what are some of the cool things that you've seen churches doing with it?
I think, some things immediately come to mind. One is like we have spent a lot of time over the past few years building out like native video texting capability. Mm-hmm. So building that out and launching it, I think about a year ago, churches, I love that. And I think it's because like, our kind of social media driven culture is becoming like video driven, video first. And that's not the reason we built it out. We were just like, hey, this would be really cool to like let people like record a video inside of ClearStream, add captions and some of this kind of rich stuff, and then actually send it through text. Right. And in a lot of cases, kind of depending on devices and stuff, a lot of cases like that's going to just play in line inside of a
right there. Yeah.
Right there.
It's like when you're sending videos to your friends or whatever, it's just like happens all the time in the like person to person use case.
Yeah. In application to person, which is what we are, A to P, application to person texting. It's not as common and it's not as fluid for a lot of different reasons. But that's been something that's been very exciting, and we're going to continue like building out and making richer and richer. The adoption of that with our customer base, as poorly as we've marketed that feature, is actually pretty great.
Yeah.
Something else that I don't know, that just going back to like finding a lot of satisfaction in what we do. We send many millions of messages a month. Like our whole platform delivers, a lot of volume, and then people respond. Okay. So a church will use ClearStream. They'll send out, like just whatever. There might be an emergency weather event, tornado happening. We need to change service times or cancel service times, or hey, visit us this Sunday. We're starting a new sermon series. There's just a lot of different ways that people need to, and one way that we've seen, and it's not the most popular way. I really wish it was. If I could make the call, but churches will send out like weekly prayer reminders. Right. So they'll Wednesday. A lot of times Wednesday, they'll be like, hey, how can we pray for you? And they'll send it out to other people. And without getting like too much into like the technical, going down a rabbit hole, we see like a very, very, very small subset of those incoming messages. And there's many thousands of those coming in a day. And they just go into whatever, that church's ClearStream account. But we kind of have this layer that flags messages based on certain things. And so our team will manually review any flagged messages. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we'll just you'll see, from people that, we don't know, but you'll see like incoming messages with, people asking for prayer with just like heartbreaking stuff, and it reminds you on a regular basis of just like the hard stuff that people go through, but then also the ministry that's actually happening because of ClearStream. And if it wasn't because of ClearStream, we don't have the hubris to say like that wouldn't happen. They would go find another texting software and do the same thing. But it's cool that they're using ClearStream, mm-hmm. and actually ministry is happening in churches with people that are really hurting, that actually need a lot of prayer. Right. That's cool.
Yeah.
For me.
Super cool. Super cool. And yeah, you're right. I mean, the prayer card or the prayer box or the, submit your prayer, or just going to the pastor, like that's existed for hundreds of years, some version of that, like texting it is just the new, but what's cool is like it's helping churches stay current and modern and do things in ways that mm-hmm. the world is doing it today. And you guys have built a solution that's, serving that purpose really well. Right. So, so I think that's cool. And it is cool when you see messages like that. We don't necessarily get it at that level, but we'll get responses for like why people have, decided to use Tithely, or we'll get feedback from like the customer experience team who's handling like a support request. And you hear these stories, right, of churches in need. And we saw a ton of them in COVID. Similarly, Tithely was a solution that helped a lot of churches in that moment, and helped a lot of churches like stay open, like just because they needed to raise money, and doing an in-person offering wasn't possible, right? So it is cool when you see like, hey, you've built something because you love what you do and you want to do something to serve the church, and then it's like working, and you get to hear stories of it helping, do ministry, or helping churches do ministry all over the place. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's cool.
I guess I don't want to take all day as we wrap up, like what's on your mind now as it relates to, you added email, you added video-based messaging. What's the future hold? Like what's on your mind? What help, like you're in that communications part of the church. So I don't know if there's things that you're seeing happen in the space, or things you're interested in helping churches do.
Is the question, what does the future hold for like church software, or what does the future hold for ClearStream?
No, I'm just thinking more communications, because that's the lane that you live in, so it might be ClearStream, it might be communications in general. But if you have some ideas around church software, I think that's cool too. So answer however you feel.
Okay. ClearStream. So I think some of the cool things that are happening, related to you guys, we built an integration with Breeze recently.
Yeah, I love it.
Just starting to roll that out. And so if you use Breeze, you can sync everything, all of your Breeze, basically your database in Breeze, your contacts into ClearStream, that updates every single day. So as your data changes in Breeze, it updates inside of ClearStream. Yeah.
We need to make sure all of the Breeze users know. So noted on my end to make sure we get the word out.
So we worked quite a lot on that earlier this year, and I mean that's only a few weeks out into the wild, so it's brand new. We are pretty, I'd say product, not, we are very product driven in the way that like our product steers everything with our company, and so we're always refining it. And so this wouldn't be exciting for people who aren't using Clearstream, but for people who are, we've got a new version of Clearstream coming out. You guys would know more than us, but kind of as your software grows, it's like you're always fighting like entropy, where it's like things just become more complex.
Yeah.
And that makes it harder for like the small church who just wants to get up and, get in, start using, Tithely or Clearstream and just do what they need to do. They don't need all the bells and whistles that have been built in over the years. And so, that's something that we are always internally fighting, is like, we want Clearstream to be really fluid and really snappy and quick, whether you're a mega church that's using Clearstream or you're a small 200 or 100 person church. And so we're trying to keep things as simple, as possible. So we've got a lot of updates coming with our web app and our mobile apps. So that's kind of what's coming on the horizon for Clearstream specific.
Yeah. That's very cool. What do you find in the messaging space? Because you guys, you see it for a certain number of churches. And this is more for like, as people are listening to this and they're thinking, oh, text messaging or even email for that matter. Maybe we do a little bit of it, or maybe we don't text at all. What are some of the things that you see churches doing really well on your platform that other churches could imitate, right? Or kind of take a nod from them and go, oh, I should do whatever, that kind of weekly message or this kind of thing, where you see a lot of good traction with your customers?
Gosh, there's people in our company that would answer it so much better than I'm going to answer, but I'll give a swing here. I think it's the medium of texting it's almost like what Twitter was in the very beginning, as opposed to like you have like Facebook and Twitter. If you want to like relate Facebook to email, where it can be a lot more richer, long form content. And then again, a decade ago, and then you had Twitter, which was 160 or 140 characters. I don't remember what it was.
Right.
Super short form. That's kind of SMS and email, where you have like rich, super long form, short, quick form. And that line is really hard to delineate a lot of times. And it actually takes a lot of thought into writing what you need to write in an email concisely enough for texting. We have features to let you like append, an email as a link into your text and, do all that kind of stuff. But just to write short, I think our character limit is like 560 characters or something like that. It's still a short, it's a very short paragraph.
Yep.
So churches who can write very concisely, without a ton of like exclamation points and all, and just very concisely, that's I think that's the biggest challenge with texting, but that's the one that's going to pay off a lot. It's just really good, concise writing, respecting the medium that you're using. It's not email, it's text. Right. People want to just get that notification on their phone. That's the beauty of texting. It's ubiquitous on all, mobile devices, but they want to get that notification on their phone if they're in a meeting right now and they look up at their phone and they read it in 2 seconds and they're done.
Right.
You're not opening up an email and reading this long form. And so, churches that do that well find more success with texting.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the Sunday morning church reminder, just, church at 10, see you there. Something simple. But I find those kind of messages from my church, like actually very helpful. Maybe not Sunday morning, that's a bit built in, but like other things that are going on, a quick little reminder like that is like actually very useful, So my church will do it for like men's midweeks or some special event or simple stuff, but it's like the text is really nice because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get buried in an email somewhere that I didn't quite catch. And I got reminded in a more like kind of time sensitive manner, like closer to when it mattered to me. So I love those kind of messages personally.
Same.
So very good, man. Thanks for coming on the show today. Where should folks go to check out Clearstream?
Our website is clearstream.io. We couldn't get .com because some like multinational German bank, I think, owns clearstream.com. So you won't find us at clearstream.com. You'll find us at clearstream.io. So
.io. Don't go to .com or just search Clearstream. Search Clearstream on Google and you'll be number 2. I'm behind the bank.
I don't know. I hope we're number 1, but I should go check that.
You should check that one. Oh man. Well, great. Thanks for coming on the show. Guys, go check out Clearstream. If you're a Breeze user and you're listening to this, definitely check out the new integration. And it was a great show. So guys, thanks for tuning in. Michael, thanks for joining, and we'll catch you guys next week on another episode of Modern Church Leader. See ya.
Thanks, Frank.